entrepreneurs, especially female women entrepreneurs, are so afraid of following trends because it makes us feel icky and like we're misaligned. So find the trend and try and replicate it in a way that feels right for you, and you can't go wrong.
Welcome to The Wealthy and Well Woman, a podcast that celebrates choosing a life of overflow. If you're looking to grow your business, live on purpose, and feel your best while doing it, then you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Kat Sanuski, the business coach for wellness leaders and visionary female entrepreneurs, founder of Be Well Events, and international yoga teacher and trainer. My goal in this podcast is to help you curate your life by design and claim your dream business by giving you actionable tips and trainings that help you get out of your own way, step into your power, and monetize your magic. I'll be bringing you a thought, training, or interview from experts that will help you break through your fears, take action, and grow into those massive visions that you can't stop thinking about. I am so happy you're here. Now let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy and Well Woman podcast. Today we have an amazing guest, Hannah Cluley. She is a business mentor and Instagram badass. And Hannah and I met actually in a business mastermind. So we got to spend almost a full year in each other's kind of like space and realm. So I have been able to see firsthand all of the amazing things that Hannah's been up to, and I'm really excited to share with you guys all of her amazing knowledge and just have this conversation today. So Hannah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for that intro. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and to be talking with you.
Yay. And you are tuning in from London, right? Today?
Yes. Yeah.
How's the weather there this time of
It's
year?
really sunny.
Yay.
It's actually really warm. So I went for a walk at lunchtime and I put on my big coat and I was like, whoa, it's so not warm, but mild. So yeah, it's actually lovely today.
I love it. It's the same here. It snowed a little last night, and then this morning it's like beautiful and sunny. And I did the same thing. I went for a walk and had this huge coat on and was like, oh wait, it's actually really nice.
Yeah.
It feels so nice to have spring coming and the weather changing and all of that. But enough about the weather. Can you just give us a little intro to how you got started in your business and kind of what led you to this place of being an amazing business mentor and Instagram badass?
I'll try and be as succinct as possible because it's a long story. So my journey actually started like back in 2014, 2015. I had to have a couple of surgeries on my knee, and this was when I was working full time as a translator. And then that's when I like started, or actually no, even before that, when I was at university, I started my Instagram account probably as a kind of diary for recovering from this knee surgery because I couldn't walk for like at least 3 months. And then I had to have the same knee surgery a year later. And by that time I was in full-time work. And again, like I couldn't walk. I had to work from home, which back then was like really unheard of. And like the whole remote working system was really weird for everybody. But yeah, so I started my Instagram account. It was called @HannahRoseFitspo, I think, like way back then. It was all about like fitness and how I was like staying healthy post-surgery. And from there, I just really got into like documenting things. I loved writing. I loved creating content, like taking photos and all that sort of thing. And that's where it really began. And I think it unlocked so many doors for me because in that period of time, or those 2 periods of time, is when I really went through my biggest probably transformation, because like my depression began because it was very situational because I was stuck at home at my mum's, away from my friends, couldn't really move. Like not being able to move is probably one of the biggest things that could cause depression. And yeah, I just really got into fitness, really got into Instagram, really loved the community that I could grow on there and be part of. And I ended up leaving my full-time work in 2017, became a personal trainer, a yoga teacher. And I did that for quite a long time while still doing the Instagram. I guess I was an influencer at the time, but that wasn't really the word when I was doing it. all the influencers were just kind of like bumbling around and just not really knowing what to do. Whereas now there are so many more parameters to follow. And then that led me to move to Bali because I went to visit a friend and I just really loved it and thought, fuck it, I'm going to go and see what it's like. And I loved it. And then I decided to move about 6 months later. I think in Bali, there are so many coaches. I was just so inspired by seeing these people like having wealth, having abundance. Like I remember first hearing about somebody making $10,000 a month and being like, what? Like you can do that through.
That's real.
Yeah, that's real. What the hell? That seems so. I remember thinking like that just seems like such a foreign number to me. And that's how it really all began. Yeah. And then in March 2020, when COVID hit, I just did a massive pivot because I knew that there were so many entrepreneurs, yoga teachers, Pilates instructors. That's how I really started. I think similar to you as well, like knowing there are so many yoga teachers out there who have lost all of their classes, who weren't really making that much money anyway, trying to teach full time. Why don't I teach them how to leverage Instagram instead of like doing it for other people? Because on the side, I was also doing some social media management. So yeah, that's how it really all started. Hopefully that was short and not really
totally
long.
was. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I knew some parts of that. Like I know you were a social media manager for a little bit. I knew you had a background in yoga. I didn't know you were a personal trainer and all of that, which is really cool. I love to see, and maybe this is because it's my world and probably your world too, and we see a lot of these similarities, but I notice so many coaches, it seems like, have a background in either yoga or fitness. And again, I don't know if that's just because that's so big in my world that maybe I'm just like magnetized
attracting them.
Yeah. And that's probably what it is. But also, I think that having that background, and let me know your thoughts on this, like having that background in fitness, in the mindset resilience and in yoga and taking care of yourself are tools that are massively important when you transition to entrepreneurship of any kind, like heavily, and when you're really business building and you're really putting on that CEO hat. Like it seems like those tools are very beneficial to have. And so part of my thought process lately has been like, I wonder if that's like a huge part of why people that move successfully into, you know, coaching or entrepreneurship like this have a background in that, because it's like almost you need it.
Yeah, that's so valid. Yeah, that I love that you say that. And it's so true. Like so many of the coaches that I know did start out as yoga teachers or as personal trainers, or at least like I was interviewing someone from my podcast the other day who was also called Kat, but she was a makeup artist before she became a coach, and she was freelance, like self-employed, working for herself. But I do think that, like, as you say, when you are either a personal trainer or a yoga teacher or in that realm of wellness and you are working for yourself, you have to really have some kind of get up and go about you. Like you have to have that fire in your belly. Otherwise, because you know how hard it is to get yoga classes or to set them up for yourself, or like get those one-to-one PT clients or whatever it is that you're doing. Like you have to have some level of resilience, as you say. And then I also think the one thing about, the yoga world, the fitness world, even like the meditation world, is everything that you're doing, more so yoga, I would say, and meditation and fitness, is about improving you as a whole. And I think that's what coaching is, right? Like, whether it's business coaching or like self-love coaching or whatever, it's all about improving you. And we all learn that through yoga, I think.
Yes, that's such a good point. And just the whole industry is really focused around self-growth and improving yourself. Are most of your clients in that, like, have that background as well, or are they kind of like all over?
They're kind of all over now. When I first started, it was mostly yoga teachers or PTs, because that's really what I was promoting to. But I'm thinking about the women that I'm working with one-to-one at the moment. There's like a photographer. There are different coaches. So someone is a sobriety coach. Someone is a yoga teacher. And then I'm also working with someone who owns like a physical fitness studio here in the UK. So they are in wellness. Like I would say that. I mean, I have had discovery calls before with people that aren't in wellness, but like my work. And I don't know, I just think like, I would never say never, but I do really love working with people that have that spiritual aspect because, as you know, and I know that you posted about this, it might have even been before Christmas, but you did a post and I was like, yes, I'm so on the same wavelength as you right now. Like the strategy is cool and all, but you have to have that extra piece of mindset work, whether it's meditation, EFT tapping, yoga, going for a walk. Like you really have to have that in business or you're just not going to get anywhere, especially as a woman. Because I just feel like as women, it's harder for us, right? Because, you know, it's different.
It is. Yeah, I totally agree. So what are some of those practices? And I know you've been very open on social media and in general about your struggle with depression and about how you've gone through these periods. And can you share a little bit about just that and kind of like your background with this? Is this something that came up more heavily through entrepreneurship, or is it because I think that can happen? Like it's such a self-growth and it's such a journey, entrepreneurship in like a self-growth way as well, that I could see that kind of exasperating some of those feelings sometimes and having to kind of work through those to come through the other side. Is that like, how was that for you?
Yeah, that's like such a good insight. For me, my depression started, well, actually, I just feel like I've always had a little bit of an attitude of like, oh, that's going to be over soon. Like even as a child, I remember looking forward to like a holiday or someone's birthday party and thinking, oh, but then after it's going to be finished. Like I always had this, I guess you would call it a scarcity mindset in a way of like, being excited about something, but then also knowing that after that, it's like, well, what's next? It's kind of like a bit of a doom mindset. And it's really interesting because when I did my coaching certification years ago, we were asked about how we were born. My birth was like a rush and a panic. And they were like trying to, like, my mum was kind of made to have a cesarean or a C-section by her doctor, and she didn't want to have it. She wanted to do it more naturally. So I wonder if because I was like rushed into the world, there's always been this kind of like rushing, can't get enough, there's not enough of this kind of mentality, which then causes anxiety, right? And I think for me, it's like I get anxious, I get stressed about X, Y, and Z. And then as a delayed reaction, the depression comes in. So my first round of like proper depression was very situational with my knee injuries when I was like recovering because I couldn't really see anybody and I felt very hopeless. And then I remember after I quit my job and did my yoga teacher training, and then I've been teaching for about 6 months. And I think just the stress of, back then running around London, working for myself, trying to like make ends meet, which as a yoga teacher can be difficult at times. That's when I was first hit by like a serious bout of it. And I think it probably was like the anxiety that had built up. And then all of a sudden my body was like, I can't create any more cortisol for you, Hannah. I can't create any more serotonin, can't create any more dopamine. Like we're just done right now. So I had therapy then, and that was really, really helpful. And I moved to Bali not long after. And obviously Bali is much more chilled and it's a completely different lifestyle. So I was pretty solid up until last year. And I do believe that with the business going so well in 2020, and then the first half of 2021, I would probably say like a combination of the normal stress entrepreneurs have. Like, I think it's interesting when you first move into entrepreneurship, because I tend to work with a lot of like new entrepreneurs, the fear of like things not working out is the primary fear. But I don't know about you, but for me now, it's like, well, what if this is my last go of like sold out one-to-ones, or what if like I can't replicate this again? So it's like, I think that fear of, well, I've had the success, how do I maintain it?
Right.
That stress plus a breakup that I had last year caused me to move into the depression. So it is very similar to what you said, like just the stress of entrepreneurship or the stress of anything I think is kind of like the catalyst to that low mood hopelessness that I felt.
What would you say are some of your best like strategies, or
Yeah.
not even like strategies, yes, but also how do you care for yourself in times like this? And now have you learned any tools to kind of help you from getting to that point if you feel like, oh, things are feeling heavy, is there anything business wise or just self-care wise that really tend to help with
Mm,
that?
yes, totally. I have a VA, like a virtual assistant, and I'm definitely the person that when I was first suggested to get a VA, like I struggled to give her things. Like I'm a perfectionist.
Capricorn,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That, yeah. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. And I just really struggled to release control to somebody else, even though I know her so well, I trust her. And then now, like this year, I just said, you're going to give so much more to Lily. So I have been, and it's been so helpful just having more headspace because I don't know, I just always had that mindset of it's going to be too complicated to explain it to her right now. So I'm just not going to. And actually, that's not true. So, for a business sense, that has been paramount. And then also just planning my content, which I was like always what I talk about is like plan, plan, plan. And then on like a personal sense, the things that have really saved me have definitely been consistent movement, consistent walks, going to the gym, lifting weights, doing yoga, eating well. Like I think there's this like the non-body shaming, the non-food shaming movement on social media. I think it's great, but I do also personally believe that eating healthy, unprocessed food is like one of the biggest
I
gifts that we can give
am loving
ourselves.
that you're saying that so much because I totally agree with that, and I see all that and I'm like, yes, I completely agree. Like, don't shame your body and don't restrict yourself heavily in that way, but I mean, just look at what it's doing to your health. Like, eating healthy,
Mm,
unprocessed foods are just better for you in every sense, like mental, physical, energetically, everything. So, yes, just a quick, I completely agree with that.
but people don't even realize because yeah, like I don't think food shaming is good at all. But yeah, maybe like a donut and like a handful of nuts have the same calorie content. But for me personally, I know that sugar like doesn't sit well with me if I have too much of it.
Yep.
And also like when my skin is just looking clearer, when I'm feeling more energized, I feel better in myself and I can make better decisions. So one of the things that I kind of gifted myself this year was a cleaner for my flat, my apartment,
Yeah.
which was like a big move because it's kind of like one of those things where is it a necessity? No, but do I deserve it? Yes. So that's changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And doing like the recipe boxes, like the Hello Fresh kind of
Yeah.
thing, because I can afford to, and it does make my life easy. So those are some things. And yeah, just gym, movement. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every morning without fail. And I do tapping every morning as
Mm.
well. EFT, that's something that I just, for me personally, I find really transformative.
I love all of those things because it is just like checking in with your life. And also, I like, that you're getting that support in your life with the cleaner and with the food delivery
Mm,
because it's not all business. Like, if you're stressed about business, that can be one thing, but allowing that support through your VA, through giving more responsibility there, through having help with food delivery and a cleaner, like all of that plays into you feeling your best. And it's not just about, okay, how much money can I keep to myself and put in my
yes.
savings? And, like, how can I make this process feel really good too?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
transitioning a little bit to more of the Instagram growth and strategy around there, you mentioned, and I've seen this from your content about planning. And something that
Mm,
I see come up a lot with people is they feel very restricted. And I think this is totally a personality type sometimes. But with like having a strict plan, people sometimes can get overwhelmed and feel like, I don't know what's going to be on my heart to share. So how do you find that, or how, like, what is that
Mm.
balance for you, I guess, so to speak, of batching and then also energetically showing up for what's true in the moment?
Yes, that's so great. And I think so relevant right now because as we're recording, it's in March, right? And like, I think with the invasion in
Mm,
Ukraine, that's been something that's been on so many entrepreneurs' hearts. It's like, can I still post the content that I've created, even though something else has completely changed in the world? So I love that question. And what I personally do, and as you also like prerequisited, which I also loved, was that not everyone's the same. So I know that this isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I love to plan, know what like my calendar looks like for the quarter.
mm,
So I know, so let's take January and February, for example. I knew that at the start of Feb, I was running an Instagram workshop. So for the 2 weeks leading up, my plan was like every day, one post, two reels, not on the weekend, but through the week.
every
And I'm
day,
not
three
saying that
posts a day.
everybody, yeah, every day. I'm not saying that everyone has to do
Treasuring.
that because I know that that's a lot of work. Even if it was just one post a day, that's cool, you know? But I had the plan of like three posts a day for the 2 weeks, themed on Instagram to sell the Instagram workshop. And then as soon as that finished, I was selling my program, my beginner's program Flow.
Hmm.
And so everything for that 2 weeks was geared at the people to join Flow.
Hmm.
But then if something had come up during that time, I would just post it as well. Like if let's take Ukraine for an example, like I still posted my scheduled content. And on top of that, because I was like free in the moment, I wasn't thinking about what I had to post that was relevant to my ideal client. I could post stuff related to that that felt really good and that felt really valuable in that moment. And that wasn't to like shame anyone into thinking that they have to post 3 times a day, like at all, because I know that that's a lot. That's just like how I operate. But I think if you can have the foundation, knowing what's coming up in your like calendar, what you're launching like ahead of time, and you know that it's scheduled to go, or you know that the captions are written for your reels and you've got the cover done. So all you have to do is like just quickly put them in and then click post.
Mm,
If a hit of inspiration or a download or an idea comes, just post it.
mm.
You can kind of, it's kind of a balance of both.
So add in instead of take away and switch.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you plan three posts a day out at a quarter, or how far out are you creating and planning and like batching your content?
So I'll plan a month ahead. So I know what I'm posting in March. For example, I just haven't filmed all of the reels because I tend to do those on a weekly basis now. I find that if I do them on a Friday or a Monday, just doing five feels really simple and
Yeah.
takes like half the day. And then the content is usually like the static post, as I would call it, whether it's a photo or a carousel. The caption's written. Sometimes the text is done. If it's a photo, I'll just pick one.
Mm. And so something that I hear come up a lot from people that are trying to do this is how do I think of that many ideas at once? Do you have any
Mm.
sort of strategies for people that are feeling like, okay, great. Like the idea of planning a month's worth of content sounds very nice to have when it comes to posting time, but how do I think
Yes.
of, 90 post ideas or 30, how many ever they're planning?
I'm just going to get a message out that I sent to one of my one-to-one clients yesterday because it's like so relevant. And I
Mm,
hope that you guys listening that you can like write this down because this is what I would suggest. So definitely don't like go full into having to do like three posts a day. I think that's for somebody like me that's been doing it for years. And if you were doing social media full time, then you could do that. But seeing as you're running your own business as well, don't feel pressured to do that. But the structure that I gave a one-to-one client yesterday was on Monday, share a piece of educational content. So that could be like 3 tips, how to do X, Y, and Z. If you're a yoga teacher, you could explain what like Shavasana actually means or something like
mm,
showing the education. So that's building trust, showing that you're an expert. And that could be in a static post or in a reel. Tuesdays, have Tuesdays for inspiration or like emoting an emotion. So that could be your tweet style post where you're like highlighting a fear or something that your ideal client would have and just reminding them that they're not alone, or that like, even though they feel that way, they can still achieve their dreams or whatever the transformation may be. Wednesday, you could share a tool or something of like behind the scenes or your own personal life so that you have that like relatability and that connection.
Sorry if you hear my dog barking. He just came over and is
fine.
like packing up a lug next to me. I'm like, oh, can't you tell we're recording here? Stop it. Sorry, continue.
Like, I want to be part of it. No, it's all good. Thursday, show the transformation either through like testimonials or even just, you know, the reels where it's like, you want this? No, you're this and you want this. You're going to have to do this, you know, like just the simple reels. There are so many real audios that just like live in my head rent free. And then on Friday, like maybe do an entertaining one. Doesn't have to be funny, but just like something that is a bit like more casual.
Yep. And you, so you teach Monday through Friday posting typically, or like 5 days a week?
Yeah. I mean, I don't follow that because I follow more on like a launch basis. So for like what's coming up, and then in between launches, I'll be a bit more free form. And of course, in those, I would still like put call to actions to like get people like, if you want, I've got 2 one-to-one spots, like DM me now, that sort of thing. I think that is such an easy way to just have some structure, but there are so many other theories of content creation, I guess you could say.
It's kind of just like picking something and sticking to it. I think
a
lot of times it comes down to that, or finding what works for you and just doing it instead of looking for the next strategy. Because I think a lot of times people can get caught up in like, what's the new strategy? You know, and get so obsessed with that it just creates stress and inaction instead of just doing something. Like, take this and just do it, like implement it for a year and see what happens.
Yeah, totally. And also like repetition is so okay in this world. Like I think your original question was, people think like, how can I come up with like 30? Yeah. And I think what I did was, or what I tell my clients to do is write down what your ideal client wants, what they want to leave behind. So that's your transformation. And what do they need to know, or what do they need to have to get from before to after? And those pieces are your educational pieces. So, and there could just be 5 things. Like if I think about what people don't know about making 10K months, there are 5 main topics and you can just rotate them. Like, don't be afraid of reposting similar or even the same content. Sometimes like I'll pull a post from 6 months ago and just repost it.
I do the same. It's so nice to have those on hand sometimes.
I know.
And that is marketing, right? Like I see this come up a lot with clients too. Is like, I've already talked about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like keep talking about it. Like repetition is marketing. Like being known for your mission and talking about the same things over and over is what actually helps people understand exactly what it is that you're doing, so that they can jump on board. So I do see this come up though. So do you, with batching ahead of time, so say people have these ideas and they're like, okay, I'm going to do, you know, these are some tutorials that I'm going to do. These are some inspiration. These are some things to do. But when they're sitting down to like actually write the captions and plan out, okay, I'm going to do a reel or I'm going to do a quote. And that's where I also see a lot of people get stuck. Like, okay, I know I need to post educational, but now I'm sitting down to write it all and there's like nothing in my head. Do you have any helpful practices that help like get some of that going?
There is this website and the name escapes me right now, which is really irritating, but it's basically like a trends website. We can go type in a word and it will give you like what people have been Googling. I think I'm going to have to like find it and send it to you afterwards.
And maybe notes.
Yeah. Cause I can't think what it's called right now, but that's really helpful for if like you could type in abundance and it would come up with like what people have Googled about abundance, which I think's so good. But say, for example, I think like doing your market research as well is a really good idea. Like I get inspired by seeing other people's reels and not necessarily reels like by other coaches, but by like all different business types. Like the one that I posted today, I got from like a woman that's like she talks about plants, and I just like shifted it for my own. So I think doing your market research, especially around people who aren't in your industry, is a really good idea. And maybe just going back and looking at other stuff that you've posted if you have already been posting content, because there'll be so much gold in what you've already posted that you could pull out that you might have forgotten about, or that doesn't seem that's not coming to your mind. And then maybe like if just literally no ideas are coming, it could be like the wrong time in your cycle to be coming up with creative ideas. Because I definitely have a period of time where like I'll sit down and just nothing's coming out. And then I'll sit down 5 days later and I'll literally have 2 months worth of ideas, because you get into the flow. So that could also be something to do with it.
So really capitalizing on those times when you're really feeling the creative juices flowing and getting that all out, and not just trying to be like, oh, I'll come back to that later. Like having a process where you're getting that out, whether it's in like notes on your phone or jotting down or something, so that you have those saved. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, like I'll do that if I'm driving. I get all of my good ideas when I'm driving. So I'll be like, I don't want to say it because the computer will probably talk to me. I'll be like, hey, Siri, like make a note. And then I'll say it out, whatever I've thought of. And it's always like the tweet style posts that I think, like a really good quote or just pop into my head when I'm driving or when I'm in the shower. So I just have to like get it down. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like those like even little things of just getting your own ideas out of your head and not just like letting them disappear and like be there and then be gone.
Yeah, they come to me when I listen to podcasts as well. So when I listen to other people's podcasts, I'll be like, oh my God, the way that she said that just really reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about, and just make a quick note in your phone or something.
So true. So good. So a couple like more little Instagram things that I feel like people like to argue about or people like to talk about a lot, and just your idea. So you kind of already touched on one of this idea of, so I've really heard two camps of this, and I can totally see both sides. But one is like just post a lot of content to grow. And this is specifically like for growing your audience, of like post. The more you post, the more you'll grow. And then I've heard another, strategy of you could be burning out your audience by posting too much. So when is the right time to kind of like listen to that and pull back? Like if you're posting 5 days a week and you notice that when you post that much, your engagement drops super low. And when you pull back to 3 times a week, it stays pretty consistent at that number. Do you like, it sounds like you're more in the like post as much as you can camp. Can you just talk a little about like how you see that being beneficial?
Yeah, you're asking like such good questions. I'm like actually just really loving all of your questions.
Yay.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's like such a good question. Yeah, so I'm 100% of the group of people that like, I think of it, I don't really like using it, like it's like a machine gun analogy. I know that guns are like a bit taboo, but like if you're using a machine gun, you're going to hit the target. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're like just taking one shot, unless you're really fucking good at what you do, you're not going to make that, you're not going to hit that bullseye. So that's my mentality. And I also feel like everyone follows at least like 300, 400, sometimes 1,000 people. So that's a lot of content to be seeing every day. So if you post 3 times, the likelihood of you showing up in their feed at least once is higher. However, I just think that it's all about what's right for you. So if you are noticing that if you post 3 times a day, 5 days a week, your engagement flattens to nothing, then pull back and post 3 times a week once. So, because it works for me to post loads and it works for a lot of my clients, but then there are definitely like people with hundreds of thousands of followers who post 3 times a week and still get really great engagement and have grown their account massively. So it depends on your audience as well. Like, do they really enjoy seeing content from the same person, or do they get bored? Like, I think there are so many different like extenuating circumstances, I guess, that go into people's success, that you could burn out your audience or they could just love seeing you show up everywhere. And I think it's so hard to know. And I think that's something I wish that every entrepreneur just knew, is to like, what feels right for you. Trust your gut over any strategy that anybody's giving you. And it's obviously hard to decipher what's gut versus what's fear of like being seen, for example. But so many of you listening, if you're curious about this, you'll know like what your audience needs. You just need to kind of tap into it.
Yeah, so good. And I think it's changed too now with Reels, because you can be a lot more entertaining. And I think before I used to be more in the camp of, notice engagement and pull back, because, when you have static posts, when it's just pictures and you're creating that content, a lot of times, it will be, I feel like in the old days of Instagram,
old days,
it was more so like photo shoot pictures and quotes. Those were like the two big types of content. And if you post too much of that, then first off, you're going to have to be going to a photo shoot every other day, and you're going to have to be creating a ton of quotes. But now it's a lot easier in a way with Reels to do quick, fun, entertaining, like angles on the same content. So it allows you to actually create more content on the same message in a way, in entertaining ways. So it's like you almost can't go wrong with that, and especially if Reels are getting in front of new people.
100%.
Yeah, that's so good. So last thing for Instagram is, what is your take on hashtags now, modern days?
Hashtags are really great. You still definitely want to be using them. You just need to make sure that they're relevant to your content. Like, it's a chance for the algorithm to like even more specifically like label what your content is, who it's for, and show it to them. So I think it's really, really important that we're using the right hashtags. And I feel like this is just like a whole like hours topic by itself, but they're there to support and bolster what is already strong content. And I think a lot of people are like, my hashtags aren't working, when in reality, maybe your content just needs to be different, or needs to be done in a different way. I don't want to say better, because good content is so subjective.
Yeah.
But hashtags work when your content works. If you share a post that nobody wants to see, the hashtags aren't going to matter whether you've got the best ones or the worst ones.
Follow-up question to that, and this is like a loaded and probably super personalized question to the user, but if there's one piece of content advice for Instagram that you could give to people to improve their content and have it land with people and grow their account more, what would that like one thing to focus on be for you?
Yeah. And it's not going to be the answer that everybody wants to hear, because I feel like everyone's just so desperate to be like seen as, not desperate in like a negative word, but I mean, everyone just wants to be individual and so authentic to themselves. But actually, we have to go with the flow of Instagram. So what's trending? Like, what's doing well at the moment? What are some of the big accounts that you follow who have grown recently? What are they sharing? Is it like, as you said, it used to be the gorgeous photos, and then it turned into more of like the tweet style things, which I think tweets are still very good. But then now when you go to a hashtag, what's the top of the feed? What are you seeing in your explore page? When you look at the Reels tab, what are you seeing? And don't copy, but that's trending. Right. And the biggest brands around the world are successful because they jump on trends, right? Like, I saw on Amazon yesterday that they're doing this like break the barrier, whatever the actual phrase is, about International Women's Day. And we all know that Amazon like isn't always the best company. We all have our own opinions about Amazon, but even Amazon know that they need to be jumping on these like diversification trends and things like that, because it's going to keep their business going. And I think that entrepreneurs, especially female women entrepreneurs, are so afraid of following trends because it makes us feel icky and like we're misaligned. So find the trend and try and replicate it in a way that feels right for you, and you can't go wrong.
That's so good. And it's simple in a way, like anyone can implement that. It's like, do both, like find the trend and make it your own. So show your authenticity while using the trend.
Yes.
So you don't have
Exactly.
to
You nailed
copy,
it.
you don't have to find a reel and copy it word for word and write the same thing. It's like
No.
put it into your authentic voice and allow it to just show like the style of using it. And that's so
Yeah.
true in entrepreneurship in general. Like the world is always changing. If you refuse to to change with it or to allow your business to be flexible in a way and adaptive, like that doesn't lead to a high road. Like you have to be flexible and adaptive in life, and especially in business.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs that you see, and I can think of a few in my head that appear to be going against the mold and that inspire so many people to be doing that, are actually like following the trends. They're just doing it so cleverly that you
Mm,
can't tell. And then it's like this really clever marketing trick that so many
yes.
women making a fuckload of money that I see. Like
Yep.
I'm like, I can see exactly what you're doing, but like it's so clever because you're saying that you're breaking the mold and that you're
Yes.
rolling out of bed from a nap and making a post, but you're totally not. Like it's,
Yes.
maybe you are, but you've also got the foundation. And I think like, yeah, we just have to do this, but it's building this kind of narrative for so many of us that we have to be so different, but
Mm.
different is not going to work to a certain extent.
I love that. And I saw a post from you recently, and I know I commented on it because it was like exactly what I was feeling of exactly what you're saying. And you said something like, it was something like five truths or something, but one of the
Yeah.
things, yeah, and one of the things was like the business owners that are saying that you don't need a niche have a niche themselves, like something along those lines. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh my god, yes, I've been thinking the same thing. Or like some of these or like, oh, throw away the marketing plan. Like this is something that I see from some very successful entrepreneurs too, is like, don't follow the marketing rules, don't follow. And it's like, but you are literally following the marketing rules in what you're posting. Like I can see that, but if you don't know what the marketing rules are, then you wouldn't be able to decipher that. And then it just creates kind of like a mind fuck almost of like, well, but wait, this is confusing.
That's literally it. And it's so, I remember as soon as you said, like, I know that I commented, I was like, yes, it was that real, because I did like 5 truths that entrepreneurs don't actually want to hear.
Yes.
And it's like every single entrepreneur, and even I have friends who are like, you don't need a niche. And I'm like, you're saying this, but like you do have a niche yourself. It's just a
Yeah.
clever way of
Workaround.
differentiating yourself. You are still following the trend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a workaround. Exactly. So it's like, take all of these things with a pinch of salt, you guys, because everyone who says that you don't need a niche doesn't actually does have one. And everyone who says that passive income is like so chill, put a fuckload of work and energy and
Yep.
time into making that passive income. So
Another great point.
yeah.
Another great point. Because I have a lot of clients, and I'm sure you do too, are like, oh, or not a lot of clients, but some clients who are saying, oh, well, I just want the passive income. And I'm like, do you know what
Mhm.
goes into passive income? Do you like, you have to show up, you have to create content, a ton of work goes into passive
Yeah.
income. It's just a different type of work. It's not like
Yes.
you create something and then all of your work is around creating content and pushing it out and getting it out and paying for ads, or doing different ways to make it passive, quote unquote, income. It's not like you create something and sit back and just watch the money flood in.
That's definitely not how it happens. Yeah, you're so right. I think there are just so many like little things that are said around the coaching industry that I'm just like, that's not true. But
Mm,
yeah,
yep.
keep
Yep.
your keep your keep your eyes open, guys.
Yes, yes. And stay I love what you said before too about listening to your gut and feeling into what feels right for you,
Mm,
and not letting an expert of any sorts,
mm.
tell you exactly what is right for you. Like taking everything with a grain of salt, exactly that. I think that is some of the best advice that you could possibly take.
Yes.
Well, Hannah, it's been so lovely having you on today and chatting. And thank you so much for just sharing all of your wisdom and
Mm.
all of these nuggets that I know our listeners are taking away. It's been so lovely to have you. Where can our listeners find you and learn more from you?
Yeah, it's been such a joy. It's honestly like I was having a bit of a weird day, and this has just like lifted my mood. So I'm super grateful that you have had me on it today. My Instagram is at Hannah Rose Cluley. That's where I'm mostly going to be. I just love it. So if you are looking to grow on Instagram, I do offer a lot of great tips. And if you love Kat, like I think Kat and I are very much on the same wavelength in so many of our beliefs and the way that we show up. Yeah. So we share a lot of opinions, and a lot of the time she'll post something and I'll be like, I was literally thinking about that the other day. So if you like Kat's content, I'm pretty sure that you'll like mine as well, and vice versa. And then you can find all of my links through the link in my bio there. And I also have a podcast called the Empowered Entrepreneur Podcast. I talk a lot about Instagram, and Kat is going to be a guest on it very soon as well. Yeah. So if you are looking for a new podcast, then give that one a listen.
Amazing. And I'll drop all of those links, your Instagram and everything, in the show notes too, so people can plug into you. Thank you. Oh, I almost forgot my question that I ask everyone. What does it mean? Oh, we have to ask this question. What does it mean?
No, it's good.
What does it mean to you to be a wealthy and well woman?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm so glad that we didn't miss this. For me, it really means living my life on my terms, like nobody else's. Like that's what wealth has given me, so much freedom and so much sovereignty and autonomy. But also it means that I get to carry out my work. Like my purpose is to help make other women wealthy and help them fulfill their purpose. And when I'm well mentally and physically, and when I have, like, as we were talking at the very beginning, my VA, somebody coming to clean my house so that I have more mental space, that's possible. So that's my answer.
So good. Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on today's episode of the Wealthy and Well Woman podcast. I am so grateful that you listened in. If you loved what you heard and you feel called to share, please go leave me a review on iTunes so I can make sure to keep all this good stuff coming your way. Also, share this episode with someone you think would absolutely love it, and I will be so grateful. That's how we spread the Wealthy and Well Woman mission together. If you aren't already following me on social media, come and join me by following @KatSanewski. I would love to connect with you there, and I cannot wait to connect with you back here in the next episode. In the meantime, go out there and shine as the wealthy and well woman you are.